Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another one of these Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. It should be a good one here today, as we've got a couple of scrappers. It's going to be Ketroc's bot taking on VeTerran, which I've featured in a couple of my past videos. It had a great late game TVT against Benbot, and so I thought, how well does it hold up against the other really good late game Terran bot? And so it's going to be a TVT between these two, but more importantly, a bot versus bot. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are the best at it. Make sure to go ahead, slap that like button before the action kicks off here. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot videos. I know I upload the odd pro match here on the channel, and this variety is the spice of life. But yeah, always leaving those comments and likes and stuff does help out. So we shall see how this game's going to go. I think VeTerran is going to be the aggressor here, if I had to imagine. Just as, like, it's not as built with late game in mind as Ketroc's bot. However, I think this should be like a really fun match because they both expand very quickly. They both just are constantly attacking, it seems. Ketroc's bot at least harasses with banshees and stuff like that. And then, yeah, we'll see where this game's going to go from here. Once again, it could be where VeTerran gets an edge in the fact that, like, it doesn't go for a planetary at its natural, whereas Ketroc's bot may. But then again, Ketroc's bot also does like to build a lot of orbital commands itself. So we'll see, as we do have that bunker on the way on the low ground, securing that expansion. But yeah, like, we've already got a bit of a more macro-focused opening out of VeTerran. Ketroc's expansion is very delayed comparatively, as it does go for that factory earlier. And VeTerran, interestingly enough, is going for that double racks opening, now getting one Reaper out, transferring some SCVs to build a bunker at the front, but it does already have that orbital on the way. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a bot author and you happen to enjoy these videos, do send me any replays you have of cool games you come across, as that's always appreciated. We've got a tank on the way for Ketroc's bot. That is very important when it comes to its early game defense, but it just goes to show the kind of design choices that the bot authors go for when it comes to programming these. As, for example, Ketroc's bot, it's much more passive in its expansion, but it always gets there. Whereas VeTerran, I guess, it could be a little bit more susceptible to cheese with the way that it opens up, going for the earlier command center. But either way, they'll both get to the same spot. Lots of gas is coming in for VeTerran as it throws up its 4th refinery already. So we'll see what it's going to spend that on. That's actually going to be an absurd amount of gas that it will have. Getting up an eBay, a starport, a tech lab. Is it going to research something with that tech lab? The answer is no. Not yet anyway. But yeah, very, very economic focused play for VeTerran. Going hard on the gas. Ketroc's bot just getting up its natural base. Both these bots getting up eBays, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where this game's gonna go from, because Ketroc's bot is incredibly defensive on 2 bases. It could be vulnerable when it tries to take a 3rd or a 4th potentially. We do have the Reaper moving out for VeTerran, looking for whatever it can find, staying out of the range of that siege tank. Very clever there to avoid getting shot by that. How does it actually know that that siege tank's there? It's staying out of the range of it. Is there a mechanic that allows it to know the tank's there? Maybe it came in already and glimpsed it or something, but that's very cool that it's staying out of the range of that. We do have a scan going down. That is something that VeTerran does tend to do a lot, is drop scans here, there, and everywhere. Cloak is now on the way for Ketroc's bot, so it is going to be looking to get up that Banshee harassment, but there we see the double turrets in both bases for VeTerran. That's very important. and potentially high-sec auto-tracking down the line to give them that +1 range that really helps them zone out to the Banshees. Still just 2 bases for both of these bots. We'll see when VeTerran's going to get up a third. I imagine it will be the bot that gets up the third, but for example, just the way that Ketroc's bot plays anyway, if you were to queue against this bot, you could just go for like 4 command centers early on probably and get away with it for the most part. Although this Banshee harassment is going to be kicking off, which could be a bit of a nuisance. There's, however, a Viking and a Raven out. We are actually seeing VeTerran move out for a bit of an attack potentially. There's that Banshee now coming on in. There's a turret. However, the SCV's got to run away. Run for your life. The Viking comes on in. Going to force that cloak out, presumably. There's that cloak, a little bit delayed. However, the Banshee still being a pain. Pulling back some of the units for VeTerran, so it is splitting its focus. Actually pulled back all the Marines and the Vikings, so that's some cool programming. The anti-air units to deal with the air unit. Who'd have thought of something so logical? This is going to be a little concerning, though, I think, for VeTerran. It's kind of meaning its attack is going to be rather limp. It does, however, force the cancel on the 3rd command center for Ketroc. This Banshee is still being a nuisance with 5 kills, which isn't too darn many, but it's still got quite a bit of energy left. VeTerran has to go on home. Ketroc's bot has his 3rd base delayed. There's no 3rd on the way for VeTerran already, so it does go to show that VeTerran doesn't completely prioritize its expansions. This Banshee still being such a nuisance. There's that cloak expiring, so it will perish. Or it may... No, it actually gets away. Well done, Banshee. The Reaper's still being a pain, gonna find that SCV. Is it gonna actually chase it down? Yes, it will. So once again, a delay on the 3rd command center. That's quite nice. Ketroc's bot is moving out, tossing down an auto turret saying, kill that Reaper. Cyclones will kill that Reaper. As we now have a Thor on the way for VeTerran. It does have that 3rd base on the way for itself, so even expansion timings. Ketroc's bot gets an SCV right back to work on that. Good to see. There is a lot of tech production up for both these bots, honestly, with 4 starports out for Ketroc's bot, 2 starports out for VeTerran. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. VeTerran, the bot that builds Thors, going to be going up against mass Banshees. And in theory, Thors are pretty good against Banshees if they can catch them, but that's a big if. Looks like that Banshee will be killed off. That's a really great scan and closure there by VeTerran to kill that. We do not have high-sec auto-tracking yet on this eBay. We'll see if that ever gets researched for VeTerran. That will really help out against this mass air style. And Ketroc's bot is a pretty greedy expander, so we do see the 4th base on the way already. It is actually going for more of the macro. There's a big tank line for VeTerran, though, to hold on against this potential attack from Ketroc. Banshee still being a nuisance, does get scanned and deleted pretty promptly. All these tanks are set up here. Is there vision for VeTerran? Looks like the answer is a bit of vision on both sides, as that's a bit of an ugly engagement. Looks like Ketroc's bot is getting some great damage done with its siege tanks, killing these units as they go down the ramp. The one Thor is going to step down like a boss, however, it is going to stay alive momentarily, but then it's so low on HP, and it does wander forward, so it will die. Not even getting that tank, unfortunately. The mass repair on the SCVs brought by Ketroc is really going to complicate this for VeTerran, which is actually down on supply by quite a bit, not having the air control. A battle cruiser is about to pop out, but against the Vikings, I'm not sure that's going to be too much help. Cyclones locking on. Ketroc's bot is still keeping the pressure on. Enemy has Terran battle cruiser conditional Viking production started. That BC does get shredded pretty heavily. And yeah, Ketroc's bot got a good push off, and then behind it has got its own beastie macro going on. And so VeTerran's in a bit of a tough spot now, as it's down on economy, down on army, and probably going to have the worst composition as this game goes on. Like, the Thor is cool, the Marines are cool, but what are they against mass Banshee, Viking, Raven? With planetaries all over the place as well. Okay. Another Thor is on the way for Veteran, so that's cool to see. Good to see, as Ketroc's bot does have fewer siege tanks now too, which are actually one of the main counters to Thors, so that could actually really bolster the strength of the Thors for a Veteran if it makes a couple of those, particularly as the upgrades roll out for them. Thors really benefit from upgrades. There's a 4th base on the way for Veteran now. Ketroc's bot is looking to push out, get some damage done. The ragtag defense for Veteran is going to have to be on point. There's a bunker and a tank on that high ground. However, as Veteran moves out, could be in a bit of trouble. As that battle cruiser does not have time to teleport away. The one siege tank has got a squad of SCV henchmen to repair it, so that Thor's going to have to get on out of there. Cyclones are trading on out, as the attacking behavior of Ketroc's bot is really darn good. As it's like, yeah, I think I can get something done. I'm not sure what calculations it's doing there, but they are good. And then Veteran just does not have that much anti-air. The Thor, of course, is going to be good. Can it kill off this one siege tank? SCVs are repairing it, giving it the hug of life. However, it is not quite enough, so that tank does perish. Another tank coming forward, however, there is vision on that, so the tank going to get right-click. Looks like SCVs are actually the target first, so that Thor going to have to get on out of there. However, the SCVs are being killed, but look at the macro programming behind this for Ketroc's bot. It's taking all the bases. It's taken just, like, all the bases but one that belongs to Veteran, and it's anyone's guess whether this is Ketroc's command center or Veteran's. So the Red Terran gonna have to survive on less economy than Ketroc's bot, that's for sure. There's also probably a growing number of orbital commands, currently just 3, but with more command centers on the way, there very well could be more. The Ravens are now being a nuisance, as they can just spam out auto turrets. Basically an unlimited amount. High-sec auto tracking is done for those turrets. They actually benefit from that extra range. The Thor going to have to get on out of there, just barely does, as even the couple of tanks for Ketroc's bot are problematic, and Veteran having a hard time maintaining supply and maxing out. The Thor is really good with its high anti-air range in this scenario. It's still just so concerning, though, for Veteran. All this blue outside of its base, all the bases for Ketroc's bot. The one Thor, he is the defender of Veteran's base. The battle cruiser's going to go on in, but that will just be destroyed super darn quickly. The Thor steps forward. Looks like it will kill off another siege tank, so he's doing pretty well for himself. However, going to need his medevac ride to get on out of there, and he does. We see a command center for Ketroc's bot being brought to the front lines. It wants to land that, make that into an unbreakable planetary fortress, and tighten the noose further around Veteran's neck. Veteran does have a pretty good economy of its own. 4 bases is nothing to scoff at, just comparatively. Well, it's kind of something to scoff at, as these Marines are stimming forward, but auto turrets and just a handful of tanks are more than enough to cause problems. The Thor pops off a Cyclone, and the Thors do actually outrange the auto turrets. It kind of looks like... I'm trying to click on them, but they expire. So I'll click on a fresh one here. What's the range on that? 7. And Thors, I believe, have 7 ground range. So yeah, it's actually even. There's now 2 Thors, actually. So that's good to see, as 1 was doing pretty well. So I imagine 2 will do better. We see auto turrets going down on both sides, with the battle cruiser going way too far forward. And Ketroc's maxed out bot is able to keep the pressure going. The Banshee's in the mix. The auto turret's getting tossed down all over the place. There is the 2 Thors out with a 3rd on the way. So there's now a couple of bros just hanging on out, pushing back an endless amount of Ravens and Vikings. The auto turrets are problematic, however, and Veteran is still just locked on 4 bases, so it will eventually start to mine out in this situation. Unless it can break and take one of these bases, the Thors are engaging into these siege tanks. However, they do have to get on out of there. Oh no, one of the Thors dies. Rest in peace. This guy is like, alright, I'll avenge my brother. As the Banshees attack the turrets, the turret does get repaired, however, with the Thor support. And it is the commander that's still alive. The one that's been... The experienced Thor lives. Gonna almost get a siege tank, but then have to skedaddle on out of there. Another Thor comes forward. Oh man, this is just a little bit concerning though for VeTerran. Like, it's holding on, it's taken some okay trades, but its supply is not going up. And the endless attack for Ketroc's bot is just ridiculously good. The Thor is doing some work still. 30 kills under his belt. We'll keep a close eye on this guy. As, yeah, there's now another Thor to the right side. And their high ground to air range is no joke. Like, they have 11 range on the ground. That outranges pretty much everything in the game. Thor is shooting the SCVs that are set to repair these tanks. Another Thor actually comes on down, so there is 3 of them in action. These tanks will be cleared on out. The Thor's staying alive. His VeTerran starting to potentially break on out of this a little bit. Killing the tanks is the main problem here. As we see, there's just infinity Ravens for Ketroc's bot. 35 Ravens. The Thors are darn good at zoning them out, however, as one Thor can chase all these guys away. SCVs are starting to get killed. Cyclone is problematic against the Thor, but look at this guy go. He's like, all right, maybe I'm going a little too far out. Hide in the bush. Hide in the bush. Okay, looks like VeTerran trying to break this planetary of Ketroc, and it looks like it actually will be able to, seeing as how there's no SCVs on deck to repair it. That base does need one more shot, and it does go down. Thor's still zoning this army away. This is allowing VeTerran time to get up its supply. So it's now at 150. I think it's peak for this game. And it will plant a command center to allow it to stay alive in this game even longer. The couple of Thors are in a bit of trouble as they're very committed. Resources lost-wise, VeTerran is down by a significant margin though. So down on bases, down on resources lost, which is always something to look at. That may improve as the supply goes up. And these Thors are starting to move out. Like, look at this. Ketroc's bot doesn't have that much of an answer to a few Thors, it seems. Okay, that base is getting established. VeTerran's now moving towards the right. Will it potentially be able to kill another one of these Ketroc's bot's bases? Okay. More Thors on the way. They are now 3/3 Thors, so that is no joke. Cyclone in over its head does perish, as the Ravens do make a bit of a play. These Thors are just completely uncontested. Just walking around, just doing their thing. Almost kills off a Raven. The auto turrets are problematic, though. We see the programming from Ketroc's bot to keep its units away from the threats, like the Thors, so the Ravens are generally giving a wide berth for the most part. Four Thors are now out for VeTerran. 5 Thors, actually. And what exactly is there to kill these Thors? That's the question. As, they're like, unless Ketroc's bot has a bit of a dive mechanic, which it wouldn't surprise me if it does. It does dive on mass air units. Does it have a Raven dive sort of condition, which it will just run on in and place down as many auto turrets. Anti-armor missile goes down. However, the trades are starting to go the way of VeTerran. It's got out a decent chunk of Vikings with this too, as the Thors are pushing on in. Is VeTerran just going to go for the throat off of like 5 bases to like 9 or something like that? It is trying. It's got tanks rolling forward. The Thors are still just doing a lot of work. They can pop off those Ravens really easily, as there's been 9 that have gone down this game, and Ketroc's bot is almost a little unsure of what to do here. VeTerran revived is looking real darn good. However, there is that Raven dive with the auto turrets. 1 or 2 of the Thors get evacuated, and of course, it's not free for Ketroc's bot. However, that was 2 or 3 of the Thors going down there. Resources lost. How many Ravens died? Yeah, only like 2 Ravens did perish in that dive. So a great defense by Ketroc's bot. The Thors have to wander home, and guys, I'm getting a little worried here. Okay, the commander is still alive. The 41 kill Thor at this point. I was worried that he perished while I was not clicked on him. Okay. So the Thor's once again going to move out for Veteran. It is still just stuck on 5 bases, though. It hasn't really identified any of these other base locations. We'll see if that's going to happen, if it eventually tries to expand or not. The Viking count is also looking pretty decent for Veteran. The Red Terran is looking to move on out once more. Now, the dive was lethal in the previous fight. This time there may be a little bit more for the Red Terran. We'll see. Only 4 Thors, though, which are the main source of anti-air. And auto turrets are pretty darn good at shredding up just about everything, it seems. The Raven, or the Vikings, are moving on in for Veteran. However, flying over turrets is not good, so we are seeing Veteran move on in. Ketroc spot, probably getting ready to go for another dive. It's tossing down some auto turrets. The Thors are zoning on out some of these Ravens, though. The Marines on the ground are also putting out a lot of damage, cutting up some of these Ravens and turrets. Ketroc spot is starting to do its mule shenanigans in the middle of this. That's the joy of the bots. The push is looking a little bit scary, though, for Veteran. One injured Thor is going to get evacuated. The commander, where's the commander? Okay, it was actually the commander being evacuated. The push for Veteran is looking a little bit scary, though, as this base is not being secured. It looks like an SCV wanted to build it, however, tanks were in the way. So Veteran does want to take another base, but it's just ignoring these other locations, which is weird. So maybe there's some sort of requirement for Veteran that it has to see a base is clear before it will expand to it. As, yeah, that's a little bit bizarre. Anyway, Veteran's still looking to push. It is starting to run out of money back at home, so it is on a bit of a timer. The tank line is actually huge, though, and that is one of the funny things for Veteran. It will build mass siege tanks against, like, an almost entirely air-based composition. Tanks, when they almost don't make sense. However, they do seem to work. It's one of those weird rules. Auto turrets are being tossed on down. The tanks do pop them off pretty darn quickly, though. The couple of Thors on the ground are also getting shots off on the Ravens. We've seen 30 Ravens of Ketroc spot die, and the main base production is looking to potentially be compromised. And that is really darn problematic if these Thors and tanks can get to all the starports, as that would just be game ending for Ketroc spot, which does have the energy that it, or the money that it needs, pardon me, to replace those Ravens that it loses. Almost any amount of Ravens it loses with 10,000 gas in the bank. That's what, like 50 Ravens worth of gas or something, and still mining from all these bases. Now, these Thors are looking to push up this ramp. The one siege tank could be really good defensively, as, yeah, these Thors are going so deep. It's a little concerning. Veteran says, give me your base, as it starts to build a command center there, and it's actually going to build one there, so kind of returning the base stealing behavior. However, Thor did just perish, and oh gosh, what if it was the commander? Oh no, where's my boy? Is he alright? We'll have to check, or say or take a moment of silence in this cast. We do have an attempted push on this planetary, trying to break this location. Yeah, I think that was the commander, guys. I'm sorry. He died on the front lines like a hero. Okay, so we have got these Thors attacking one of the starports, just farming add-ons. As those keep getting shot, that starport will be killed, so the first of Ketroc's production has been hit. Weirdly enough, Ketroc spot is maxed out. It just doesn't have anything to deal with the Thors, and now there's even hostile turrets, because this is now a hostile base. We're seeing Ketroc spot trying to build a starport next to this location, which is weird. This planetary is being shelled away. The income is still vastly in favor for Ketroc spot. As it's got all these other bases out, it can still drop mules. It is now supply blocked a little bit, though, which is problematic, as 2 tanks are shelling away on each other. Auto turrets getting tossed down en masse, as this location is attempted to be broken by Ketroc spot, break the siege a little bit, and it does pretty good with those mass auto turrets. However, in comes another Thor. The tank is sieged up. It's going to get shot away, and it will actually perish. That's really problematic for Ketroc. It's got command centers flying all over the place. It's still got plenty of bases, getting up more and more production. However, the Ravens haven't been doing it. or at least the Raven AI hasn't been doing it, and as a result, these Thors are now really pushing into this location, farming the add-ons once again. It's a bot thing. If you're a bot out there, and you want your bot to make add-ons, please add like a 2-second delay or something so this doesn't happen. This happens to all the Terran bots all the time. They're like, I need an add-on on that. Please add a delay. As, we do see Ketroc's bot trying to break this location to say, no, that's my base, so VeTerran will lift that off, however, re-land it. The mules all get destroyed, so mining can resume a little bit, and the production for Ketroc's bot still compromised. It's amazing how VeTerran is making this push happen off of so few bases, but now it's got a couple of more fresh bases taking some of Ketroc's, and these Thors are still zoning out. The main command center died. Ketroc's bot is supply blocked. It's not making any depots though, weirdly enough. Maybe that's not a problem Ketroc's bot usually runs into with its trillion command centers, but it's lost a few at this point in the game. And dare I say, things are looking pretty good for VeTerran. What a game this has been. The Thors are still zoning out the Ravens, and there has been a couple dives from Ketroc's bot. That is one of the things that are really good by it, but I guess they're just not quite aggressive enough with the mass auto turrets, because I mean, if these 31 Ravens flew forward and they threw down all the auto turrets they possibly could, maybe they'd be able to break this location. We are seeing the turrets get thrown down again. That's where we've seen some of these Thors, some of these tanks dying. The Banshees are coming on in, but it's just, it backs off a little bit. I guess it ran out of energy, actually. The Ketroc's bot is backing out. We see more command centers being started up, as it's still just got all these extra bases going. So it's still got lots of life in this game. And supply-wise, I mean, VeTerran is broke as a joke. So, like, all it takes is for VeTerran to run out of steam here. However, with the production dying for Ketroc's bot, this is problematic. More and more of a supply block going down. And yeah, it seems there's no depot building behavior for Ketroc, as yeah, it's not making any more. It just usually relies on mass command centers, and I guess that is perhaps a bit of an oversight, as this is probably not something that happens in a lot of these games between these two bots. And I do want everyone to note that the games that I do click on, there is some form of survivorship bias or selection bias, as I tend to click on the ones that are a good length for YouTube. So yeah, we do see these Thors now shooting away on the turrets. A lot of Vikings just got slaughtered, and it seems the supply block got broken simply because units stopped dying. But yeah, VeTerran's still mining away a little bit on this base, at least. SCVs are kind of working double time, doing lots of repairs. Ketroc is starting to run out of money to mine, though, and it's one of those things like, what's the point of money if you don't got the production to build things with it? And Ketroc definitely doesn't have that, as it's going to lose another command center. It's going to get supply blocked, so it may be a bot to die with 10,000 resources in the bank. And yeah, based off this game, the only thing I'll say is that maybe the Raven dive behavior for Ketroc needs to be looked at a little bit, or maybe it just needs some more supply depots to be built. And I am curious why that wasn't a thing. Maybe that, yeah, anyway. Things are looking a little rough for Ketroc at this point. It's still got so many resources in the bank. Not much production, though, actually. In fact, it's got literally no starports left, so it does not seem to have the redundancy to rebuild from this point on, whether it be because it's supply blocked or what. It is trying to send SCVs all over the place, so it's trying to like still get more bases up and whatnot, but it doesn't even have an engineering bay anymore, so it can't make a planetary. So these Thors are unopposed as they shell away with their high damage on this command center. These SCVs are like, this is fine. We're only programmed to repair planetaries, not regular command centers. And so, wow, what a checkmate by VeTerran. I wasn't sure how this game was going to go when VeTerran was contained on like 3 bases, but I was like, I mean, the Thors seem to work out pretty darn good. And it is safe to say that VeTerran is pretty good in the late game. Its style is definitely different. With a couple of tweaks, though, I think Ketroc's bot could definitely have dominated this game like it did at the start, like it's still doing economically, as it's got 18,000 minerals in the bank. But yeah, just checkmated, I guess, at some point. Ketroc's bot relies around sort of defending the main, but the main got broken, which is not something that happens after. Not something that happens often with Ketroc's bot. Like, usually if Ketroc's bot is going to... Usually if it's gonna, like, lose the main, that's after it's lost every other base, not mined out every other base on the map, which it almost has done. Like, there's no gas here, no gas here. No gas there. A little bit, tiny fraction of gas there. Funnily enough, it actually did mine out the outer bases more. So VeTerran doesn't actually have that many resources left to play with. Can make lots of Marines, though. Yeah, as it is starting to run out of gas. So, I mean, if only Ketroc's bot had a bit of production. But unfortunately, it does not, as the main base is being broken. This command center is going to go down. That's going to be more of a supply block. Yeah, we see Ketroc's bot get a bit of supply free, and then it's like, I need more SCVs. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, hit that like button. I think it's got to be a win for VeTerran at this point. Bots are pretty linear. They don't just say all of a sudden, hey, I need to change my decision programming. As, yeah, Ketroc's bot just seemingly caught in a bit of a bad loop, trying to defend its main base that is already basically gone. And yeah, these Thors, these tanks inching on forward. There's that one siege tank there that will not stand a chance. One more Cyclone being made. I'm actually curious what happens to Ketroc's bot after it loses this factory and these two depots, whether it'll just stop defending this location or even throw in the towel, as I think it is a bot that may have GG behavior. So even though it's got a couple planetaries and lots of money, Ketroc's bot may throw in the towel. We shall see. VeTerran, though, yeah, is very broke. There's not a lot of money left on this map, as Ketroc did mine pretty much all of it. There's maybe like 1,000 gas or so. Marines, though, killing these SCVs. Space got, yeah, a little bit of gas. Not much left, though. Ketroc's bot is finally starting to try and rebuild production over. It chose a very poor location to do so. If it built some production over here, that would be good. So yeah, it did lose all its production and its last factory, and it kind of snapped out of it. But now it is in trouble. All right, we see a starport on the way. Oh, it lost the factory, I guess, so it cannot build the starport. Another SCV's moving on out. Where's this guy going? Is he gonna build something? Uh-oh, that's a Thor. Turn around. Yeah, it is worth noting that VeTerran Revived is someone's open source code being taken further, as the original bot author of VeTerran did pop into the YouTube comments the other day and say, hey, I programmed this bot and then abandoned it but left it open source for anyone. And someone did take it on, so well done to the original author and well done to whoever took it further. Yeah, one SCV at a time. That ain't it, dog. Gonna need more than that. As VeTerran can begin the hunt. As it builds a command center at a base that there's no resources. There's nothing here for you. Why are you doing this? VeTerran's a little confused. Even taking the main base of Ketroc's bot. Apparently it doesn't... Well, this one's actually got a bit of resources. Worker defense on, worker defense off, says Ketroc's bot. That is unfortunately going to be it, though. As a bit of a frustrating game for Ketroc fans, I imagine. However, what a great match this was. And I really am always, as always, a fan of Thor's. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one and you're still watching, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment that says more bots for the YouTube bot, that algorithm. And if you do want to support this content, consider becoming a YouTube member, as that does go a long way. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.